My dividend investing friends, how are we doing today? Life continues to tick, friends. We are here once again with another video. It has been once again 2 weeks that has passed, and here we are as time continues to tick. You're a dividend investor, I'm a dividend investor, and we continue onward on this long journey of trying to build a financial nest egg. I call it the passive pillow, the passive income pillow that ultimately I'm trying to achieve one day. Hopefully by the time I'm the age of 50, if not sooner, I will continue to see the benefit of thinking of this strategy and planning for it, moving forward into my life. I mean, one day I want my life to be easier financially than what it currently is today. Wouldn't you want the same, friends? That's why it's important to plan for it. In this video, we have another topic, just like we always do, and we're going to go over it, and then I'm going to wrap it up with going into my own personal portfolio. So if this is your first time here, friends, welcome to the journey, welcome to this community. I tend to notice now that some of these videos are getting more views than they used to, and I don't know if it's because there's a community here, kind of formulating over time. I mean, that is what the increase in subscriber count, indicates. But sometimes, there's some fluctuation. Some videos get more, some videos get less. But otherwise, friends, if you're here, it's your first time, welcome. If you're here, friends, and you've been here for a while, you've seen some of this journey unfold because we have been here for a while now. Let's continue. I appreciate every single one of you guys. We are all in this together, but we're all in it individually. That's our own individual journeys. But it's nice to be able to relate and understand that we're not fully alone. Even though there may not be another dividend investor in your life, in your circle, someone you can connect with. It's not a very common strategy. It is often part of people's portfolios. For us, friends, maybe for you, I will tell you for me, this is my strategy, being a dividend investor. Eventually I want to get into real estate, but that's a topic for a whole nother video segment series, hopefully in the future, and hopefully sooner rather than later. And I'm looking forward to the day when I actually get to, show that on this channel. Another little pillar here for me, little baby pillar, little financial real estate portfolio kind of coming up and popping up and growing up over time. We'll get there, friends, soon enough. And, all we have is time, right? We have time until we don't. But friends, if it's your first time, regardless, or you've been here for a while, I'm curious. Why is it that you're a dividend investor? What is your plan with investing in dividends? Are you all in on dividends, or are you a growth/dividend investor? Or do you just have dividends in your portfolio, like dividend paying stocks? I'm curious to know. I know we don't get too many comments on these videos, but if there's someone out there you want to share, go ahead and share. I mean, I'd love to know. I would love to know. As for me, friends, I am a little uppity today. Tomorrow, or the day when you actually hear this recording here, it's going to be my very first day of a 3-week vacation. And the way I always look at vacations, friends, it is a taste of retirement. Because you continue, once you enter this workforce, right? It's a big slap in the face. But once you continue in this workforce, you're going to recognize over time that you're going to continue in it. You could stay in it forever, friends. You could stay in this workforce forever. No one's going to say, hey, don't just be in this workforce anymore. But when you have these vacations in that process, right, it's a little taste of retirement, because the only thing dangling at the very end, that little carrot at the end of this workforce career, is this moment where you don't have to work anymore. I still get paid money, right? I get paid sick leave, I get paid vacation. I'm still getting paid as I'm on this 3-week vacation. It's a nice benefit of working for the state. You get a lot of vacation hours, a lot of sick leave and stuff like that. So from time to time, I got to flex it. But it's important to recognize, friends, that you're in this workforce journey until the day you're not. And oftentimes it's retirement or the vacations that you take in between. But it's an extra nice vacation, friends. I'm going to Greece. And I currently live in California. That's where I'm settled. California born and raised. There's positives and negatives of being in this state. The only positive is it has very beautiful beaches and very beautiful areas of life here. And we've all heard of the cons, and a lot of them are true. But I'm gonna be going to Greece. So from California all the way to Greece, it's a 11-hour flight, a 3-hour layover, and then another 3-hour flight. And we'll be in Greece. And I think the time frame, I think they're ahead 10 hours. So we'll see what it's like, friends. I'm very excited. And for this trip, friends, we're going to start off in Athens, then we're going to go to Milos, and then we're going to go to Santorini, and then we're going to go to Paros. I'm going to record a couple segments of it. Maybe I'll share it on my next dividend investing journey, just a little segment. But if I do upload a video, it'll be on my second channel called ContinuesToImprove. And if you haven't followed me on there yet, I encourage you to, if you want to, take a look and subscribe. That is my main channel. That is where I do upload multiple times a week. This is my every 2 weeks or my bi-weekly schedule right now for the dividends, because it's happening slowly over time, but life happens fast. So on my other channel, it's more about my life and things like that. I upload 3 times a week. So check it out, friends. But now let's get to the actual meat of this video. So for this video, friends, I did choose a topic, right? We always choose a topic to discuss, and then we ultimately wrap it up by going into my personal portfolio. But this last week, friends, I had a big moment in my dividend investing, career. I don't know how else to put it, my journey. I had a big moment. My strategy since the beginning of starting this dividend portfolio has always been to buy my holdings and hold until I'm given a reason to sell. My strategy has never been to sell. I don't like trading. I don't like selling short term. I hold for the long term. I don't try to jockey for position, No, I'm very consistent. I have a lot of trust in M1 Finance because over time I've been using it. I funnel in my funds and M1 does the rest. And it's very simple, very easy. And that's what I recommend in a dividend portfolio, just for longevity's sake, because this is a long game, friends. I previously had fun investing in penny stocks and growth stocks, some crypto, and what I recognize is that just psychologically it started to mess with me. Always taking a look at my portfolio, always looking for, that high to sell, to buy low. And it was just a roller coaster, and I never liked it. That's ultimately why I try to find something different. That's why I ended up finding dividend investing. And I recognize that no matter what, friends, if you want to be successful on this pathway, you have to be consistent. But you also have to think for the long term. If you trade and you buy low and sell when it's high and buy low again, or however you want to move about it, you got to be careful because you may burn out. For me, friends, I've had this in the back of my mind the whole time. So that's why for me, I've always been very consistent with this plan, and I don't sell until this last week. And I'm going to explain why, a little bit more of my rationale as to why I sold. For me, just to give you just a general summary, it was just a little scissor cut, off my Nvidia holding, which was booming. But I'll tell you exactly why when we get to that segment of the video. But it's nothing too significant. It was just $2,000, but still, it felt significant to me. So in this video in particular, friends, because of this, I'm going to talk about how to determine when to sell part of your dividend portfolio. I'm going to mention 3 things that I consider and 3 things that I think are important to consider for everybody when they're going to sell in a dividend portfolio. So let's get into it. So friends, these are not in any specific order, but the first one is number 1, if that makes sense. So number 1, what was your initial plan? This is one thing to consider. You got to be mindful of this. And then these next 2 and 3, they can go in either or, one before the other and vice versa. But market timing is one thing to consider. Is now a good time to sell? And the other one is life timing. You can never prepare enough for this. So starting with the first one, friends, let's talk about what was your initial plan. So if you're getting ready to sell a part of your dividend portfolio, one thing I want you to think about is what was your initial plan before you pulled the trigger on that sell order. Think about what was your initial plan, your initial strategy. Why are you doing this in terms of investing for your dividends? Why are you investing for dividends? What are you doing this for? So think of that. Be mindful of it. Don't brush this away. Don't mindlessly pull the trigger on a sell order because Nvidia stock boomed, for example, and now you're sitting on a very good nest egg. Be mindful of it. Don't just do this without thinking about it, thinking about the long-term consequence, medium-term consequence, short-term consequence. Don't just do it mindlessly. You have to think about why it is that you're doing it, why you want to do it, and does it align with the plan that you initially had for yourself when you first started this dividend portfolio. There's a lot of people, friends, a lot of people investing in dividends. Everybody has their own strategy, and that is totally fine. There's no perfect one way to do this. For me, my strategy has been very simple because it goes, it stems off my personal belief and foundation of how I want to live my life. For me, I want my finances, my financial success to just be a pillar in my life. I want my time and other things, like personal development, to be a whole nother pillar. I want money to be something I don't have to worry so much about, because I want to focus on all the aspects of my life. Like I said, I used to invest in penny stocks, growth stocks, and some crypto, and I didn't like how it felt to have to always look at my phone and say, where's the market today? Oh, I might sell it today, because you buy low and sell high. And I didn't like that. So for me, my plan was just to buy my dividend holdings and hold until I was given a reason to sell. And initially I thought it would just be a reason in the market, but later I found out life happens as well, friends. So life may give you a reason to have to pull that trigger later in the future. And I'm going to explain. For me personally, friends, it was a life timing issue as to why I sold a part of my dividend portfolio. For some people, it'll be a market timing, and I'll get into that. But be mindful of your plan. Does your action of selling today align with your prior plan that you had for yourself? And if it does, that's great. If it doesn't, just throw in another question. Think about it, reanalyze. Hey, does this still align with this outcome? Or do I have to realign my initial vision? Because our plans could change. Just because you had a plan to begin with doesn't mean it won't change over time. We've talked about it before, friends. Sometimes we have to adjust and pivot. Maybe that could just be our way of viewing dividends in general. Maybe something in the market happens. Maybe something in life happens. But we adjust and we pivot. The whole point of that first one, friends, is just be mindful of selling. Don't just pull the trigger mindlessly. You will not thank yourself in the future if later on you regret that decision. It's a big deal to sell. It really is. You have to pay taxes on it if you're selling at a good time. If you're not selling at a good time, you're probably selling at a loss, and it's still a hit. It's still something to consider and put a lot of weight into it. Some people do trade, some people do sell very often, so maybe it doesn't mean as much. But for me, friends, I don't really sell very often. So for me, it does mean quite a bit. So for market timing, friends, this is a whole nother thing to consider, right? Sometimes you buy low and you sell high, and when your holding is high, you're sitting on a good position. You can take a little haircut and trim the top of your holding if you have a lot of it in the green. You take some of those gains, either you pocket them, use it for something, right, that you need in your life at that time, or you reinvest it, or you just recalibrate your portfolio, right? You sprinkle those gains into a lot of your other holdings that you feel would do better over time. So market timing is something to consider. Also, if it's a bad time in the market, you need to consider this as well. If the market is going down in the red, you have to consider this. Is it still a good time to sell? Because oftentimes when it's a down market, friends, it typically is not a good time to sell. But sometimes it is. It could be. If your holding has been declining and declining and declining, you're like, hey, I just need to hop off this ship because this ship is going down into the water. It's still a good time, right? If you have no faith in the holding that you're currently in, if you have no faith that this boat is going to stay afloat, sometimes you have to abort. Sometimes you have to hop off. And that's totally fine. You just have to recognize and ask yourself these questions. The market timing will matter when you go to sell. It's something definitely to consider. For this next one, friends, though, it's life timing. For this one in particular, this one's the one that actually got me to sell a part of my portfolio. The part of the portfolio in my NVIDIA holding that I'm telling you about is life timing. I've seen through the data and the statistics that the majority of the people that listen to my videos are between the ages of 25 and 34. So it makes me think that a lot of you guys have already experienced life, right? You're either in the workforce, you graduated college, maybe you started a family, right? You're already getting older. If not yourself, maybe your parents are also getting older. The people around you are getting older. Maybe some health changes have began to occur. Regardless, friends, you have been time tested already, at least a little bit in life. And I could say that because I'm 28. I just turned 28 this last month. And even at this point in my life, I've already been a little time tested, and I'm seeing a lot of the pieces in my life start to change, right? My parents are getting older. The decisions that I have to make, if I'm not by myself, right? If I have a long-term partner, we have to make them together. Life tends to happen, right? I don't have any kids, but we have a house and we pay rent and we go to work 40 hours a week and we have a car payment and little things like this, right? Everything starts to add up. You can try your best and prepare for this as best as you can, But you're going to realize that over time, you can't prepare for it enough. Life will always find a way to get you to just feel unstable at times. It's always going to get you. Something is always going to pop up. That's why I'm a huge believer, just to sidetrack, on personal development, because I feel like if you're always in a decent position to just hold your own pillars, right? You have them at a certain level, you can tend to manage life better. It doesn't knock you down. And even if life does knock you down, friends, it doesn't tend to knock you down for very long. It knocks you down, you fall, but then you get back up, right? And you continue to move, right? That's why I'm a big believer in personal development. But how it relates to finances, right? And life timing. Sometimes you plan financially for the future. You plan with this and that, a decent amount of savings, a decent funding schedule. You plan your career so you always have a shovel, to rake in this money, pick up this money and throw it wherever you want, right? Toss it into that pile. But life is going to happen, friends. For me, I thought I was okay. But more recently, my partner and her personal business and some of the decisions that she made, were a partnership. So for her, I had to be, just mindful of this. We're a unit. So if she's getting impacted, it's going to impact me, right? We're a team. So that kind of happened over the last couple months, right? So I was kind of paying a little bit more of this and a little bit more of that. And then over time, it started to add up. We found out what the issue was, but by that point, we were already kind of behind. She was trying to play catch up, but because she's playing catch up, we're a unit, we're a team, right? One person's problem in a partnership is both people's problem. So for me, I try to keep us afloat, right? And we were doing a decent job, but then life continues to happen, right? We had this Greece trip coming up and, we're like, okay, we're going to be okay. And then, we're like kind of tight, right? And we still have a certain way that we live life. I'm sure we could buckle down and try to squeeze out some savings from somewhere, but we still like to live a certain way. Right. So we had that with the partner's business. We had Greece trip coming up. And then we also had health issues. Right. And being mixed in with these health issues, me and my partner actually filed for domestic partnership. So then we actually were a unit. But we did this because we were trying to get my partner on my health insurance, right, to save some money. She was aging out of her insurance at the age of 26. Right. We've been together a long time. So this was a good next step for us. But in this transition of, having her placed on my insurance, it didn't onboard quick enough, right? She had some dental issues she needed to take care of, and they came in fast. And when these dental issues came in, well, she didn't have insurance yet, so then we had to pay out of pocket, and now we have all these things mixed in, right? We have the business issue from months ago trickling up into being a problem. We have the domestic partnership health insurance. With the dental issue, we got to pay out of pocket. We have this Greece trip, right? This Greece trip that we have to try to pay for. I mean, we want to have a good experience when we're there, right? And then on top of this, friends, I had my own personal stuff. I actually completed my MSN program, my Master's of Science in Nursing program, which I'm very happy for. Very happy for. I'm done, friends. I'm ecstatic about it. But because I finished, I wanted to pay that off. I was paying that out of pocket, paying for that degree out of pocket. So also during this time, I just went ahead and threw the last and final big payment into that, because I just wanted to be done. When I was done with school, I wanted to be done with the payments. So I paid that off. So that's also mixed into the mix here. And it was also my partner's birthday, 26th birthday, and I wanted to be a good partner and I wanted to get a good gift. And so I did that. So it was a mixture of all these things, friends. These are just my examples of life timing. There's some of these that I kind of foresaw coming, right? Finishing school, my partner's birthday, Greece. But sometimes other things happen, right? The partner's business has a hiccup. My partner's health, dental issue comes up, and that's out of the blue. And then the onboarding of health insurance, I should have known it was going to take a while, but sometimes it's hard to fully think ahead and be fully ready and prepared. Sometimes you do things and you're like, man, if I could do it over again, I wouldn't do it that way. And that's how we find ourselves sometimes. So apart from market timing, I just want you guys to understand that sometimes there's going to be a life timing aspect. So for me, in order to feel good about my condition, right, my situation, I felt like I had to take a haircut off my NVIDIA holding. I looked at my whole portfolio and I recognized, hey, my NVIDIA holding's doing so well, I can afford to give it a haircut here. Let me just take $2,000. I just need $2,000 from somewhere. And I took it from NVIDIA. And that was okay. Like nothing bad actually happened. I still have a pretty significant dividend portfolio. You probably wouldn't even notice much of a difference, but For me, it was a big thing because it was a hit to the fundamentals of my portfolio. And I always have this kind of belief, where if I don't go with my plan, I'm failing. I have to change my whole strategy. But apart from that, friends, I also paused my buy order. So I think that's why it stung a little extra. But sometimes, friends, I also have to adjust and pivot. We have to adjust and pivot with our portfolio, with our financial flexibility. It's a fine line. It really is. Being disciplined and being able to execute your dividend investing financial plan to reach your dividend financial goal, but also be flexible enough to adjust and pivot and understand that life is going to happen. Life is going to happen, and it's going to come, and it's going to come in ways you don't expect. So you're going to have to be flexible. You're going to have to adjust and pivot your dividend portfolio sometimes. And this is why it's very hard. I'm learning this over time. I'm seeing it firsthand over time that no matter how hard you plan, you can still execute, but sometimes you do have to make some adjustments. And that is life timing, friends. That is an example of a thing to consider if you're going to sell. Just be patient with yourself. Be kind to yourself. That life timing is going to be a reason you end up selling a part of your dividend portfolio. And here we are, friends, as always, in the Jesse's Cash Flow portfolio. As you can see, typically we're around 70 to 72,000, and the markets haven't been, the best over the past week. They haven't been the best. They've gone down a little bit, but regardless, we're now at $68,245. I wanted to go up, but we had to take a little divot down just for a little bit, and that's okay. That is me learning to be flexible, adjusting, and pivoting in my own personal strategy here. And hopefully it's just an example for you, friends. I'm trying to give myself grace. It's not something I necessarily wanted to do, but life happens. It's that life timing. It's going to happen. But at this current state of the portfolio, friends, we're still in the green all time with a 22.48% return, which equates to a gain of $8,392.70. And if we take a closer look still, for market gain, it's $4,469. This would have been a little bit more for sure if I still had my NVIDIA. And then for earned dividends, we're at $3,923. And that's what it's about, friends. These earned dividends are keeping my portfolio significantly more in the green than if I didn't have them. And that's just how the markets have been, lately, this whole year for the most part. There's a lot of unpredictability currently in the markets, and it's hard to fully know. And just working my way down, friends. As you can see, tech is still my largest holding with 162% return. So even though I sold my NVIDIA, it's still up as the biggest sector in my portfolio. And I want to show you here, I still hold a significant amount of NVIDIA. I still have a substantial amount of a green return of 485%. So really, honestly, cutting a piece of my NVIDIA stock was actually a very wise move. I just ended up taking the money and pocketing it instead of sprinkling it into the rest of my portfolio, which would have been even smarter. But taking it, putting it in my pocket, now I feel better about my financial situation, a bit until I can rebalance and just recalibrate. And, hopefully we continue to move forward from this point on. But the NVIDIA continues to boom. And if I click on it, I think I have 8 shares left at an average price of $133. So I've bought at a good time. I wasn't necessarily predicting the AI boom at this time, but I knew NVIDIA was a stock that I actually did want to hold. And so we held it. And we're going to continue to hold it. I'm not planning to sell anymore. Hopefully that was all I needed to sell in this point in my life where I actually had to sell. And then going back into the sectors here, it goes tech, energy, consumer discretionary, financials in that order. And as far as for the reds, friends, communication is still down 18%, healthcare is down 15%, and then real estate. So real estate is still down. It's funny because this is down, but the markets in real life are actually not down. Rents are still high. Mortgages are high if you're buying a house right now, and the prices of houses are still high. It's such a gridlocked situation. It is pretty hard to try to buy a house right now. And it's hard to sell. It is hard to buy and it's hard to sell. It's such a gridlock situation. And I do want to show you guys my activity section. I want to show you, where it is that I sold. So I sold on August 30th. This was a $2,000 chunk. It was a $2,000 chunk of NVIDIA, and I believe it was 4 shares. So 4.09 shares, a share price of $488, friends. So that's actually pretty good. Because if I go to the actual NVIDIA chart here over the last month, I wasn't trying to sell at the high, but that's kind of what happened. It was just a good timing on my part, trying to squeeze out at least the most funds for the least amount of shares. If I do have to sell, that is the way to do it. And I just kind of timed it very well, on that little peak there. And as you can see here, this is where I did end up ultimately withdrawing the $2,000, and now it's in my pocket. Now it's in my pocket ready for Greece. So hopefully, friends, you could take it as an example. I try to be transparent on this channel. I don't try to make it seem like this is easy, friends. It is easy in the sense that you can set it and forget it, but you have to adjust and pivot and make it continue to work and grow with you in your life over time. That is this long investing strategy. Life is going to happen, and it often happens first. This is your dividend portfolio. This is your financial strategy, moving into your life, into your future, preparing for your future in the background is the way I look at it. But you have to adjust this with your life, and you got to do it over time, and you're probably going to have to do it over and over again. This is just one example of me doing it. I know for sure I'm going to have to do it again, and then probably again over time. But friends, this is going to be it for this week's video. I just wanted to be transparent with you. I appreciate you guys being here. I know there's a little bit of a community here, so I'm going to continue to show up. I enjoy making these videos. I enjoy documenting this journey. I'm looking forward to going to Greece. By the time you watch this video, I'm already that night on Monday at 8 p.m. flying out to Greece on an 11-hour flight. So I'm looking forward to being in Greece. I'm not looking forward to the flight. But make sure you enjoy your life as well, friends. Don't just invest and save and be frugal. You have to understand what is out there financially. And in order to do that, you have to spend some money sometimes. So make it work for your life. Make it work for yourself. Make it worth it. I'll see you on the next video. Until then, friends, take care.